Take me to the water. Strong buzz in my mind. Take me to the water. Strong buzz in my mind. Strong buzz in my mind. Take me to the water. Strong buzz in my mind. Take me to the water. Strong buzz in my mind. Strong buzz in my mind. Take me to the water. Strong buzz in my mind. Take me to the water. Strong buzz in my mind.
Mare vida. The ocean is life. Our whole planet is dependent on the ocean.
Will I ever be good enough? Always put my heart into the hands of the ungrateful. I'm trying so hard to fix my soul. Turns out in the end that all I needed was to let go. So take me to the water.
I didn't grow up in a coastal town. I grew up in Johannesburg, which is about as far as that you can get from the sea. But my dad grew up in a coastal town in Angola, and we would always hear about the stories of living by the ocean, about the enjoyment of going on a boat, diving, fishing. So my interest and passion in the ocean was largely influenced by my dad. So being a vet allows me to work with living, breathing organisms, whether they're dogs, cats, seals, birds, and it allows me to really experience the wonders of nature, while allowing me to problem solve and to really challenge myself mentally. And then it's an extremely rewarding profession because you're taking these problems where the animal can't really tell you what's wrong. You're using your problem-solving skills and you're coming up with plans and you're executing these plans and you're seeing the end result where these animals recover, they have a better quality of life afterwards, and it leaves that relationship between the animal owner a lot better in the long run. Practicing as a vet, one really has the opportunity to dive into different aspects of the world of medicine, whether it's working on teeth 1 minute, then doing an operation the next, or vaccinating a puppy or a kitten. It's really a diverse profession that keeps life very interesting and very dynamic, and it's actually very hard to get bored within the field. A strong needle.
Relax. Relax.
Although we would sometimes like to just work with the animals, we have to work with people. And that's also an incredibly rewarding part of the job if you embrace it.
Have a good one.
Yeah, all the best.
Thank you.
So although being a vet is extremely rewarding in many aspects, it does come with its challenges, both emotionally and physically, whether it's becoming overly committed to a case that you just can't get right, and seeing an animal suffering, or the physical exhaustion of being on your feet all day. And there's always a time in any vet where they've dealt with a specific case that is highly memorable, that's really touched them and like really pushed them. And for me, there was a little dog called Poppy, who at 6 weeks old was brought into the clinic with a severely damaged skull. She had been found on the middle of the road, circling. At first, it looked like a hopeless case, and we thought this animal is better off to euthanize. But then there was this little light in her eyes that we just found it very difficult to just let her go. And we started a treatment plan, and we started to see a daily improvement. First, she started eating, and then she started opening her eyes, and then her wounds were healing. And we thought, oh, this is it, we've recovered this animal. But as weeks went past, it was apparent that she also had other underlying problems that were going to complicate her life in the long term. So Poppy started having really bad seizures. She started becoming very reactive in a negative way to triggers in the environment. Her circling behaviors became intense. And ultimately, as her caregiver, as her owner, and as her vet, I had to make a really difficult decision. And that was to euthanize my own dog. It's an animal that everyone loved so much, more than we actually even realized. And there still isn't a day that goes past where the team doesn't think about Poppy. And we have pictures throughout the clinic as a reminder, and also just a reminder of the love that there is between humans and animals. Caring for animals really brings out the compassion in humans. Seeing that vulnerability in animals, I think, is something that as humans we find difficult to ignore. So even though we place a lot of importance on our pets, all animals are actually really important in one way or another, and they all play key roles within this ecological balance that ensures all of our survival. One such animal that I always like to think about is the Cape fur seal. Although we see these animals in abundance along our coasts, this animal really bridges this mysterious world of the ocean and what's going on beneath the water's surface. There is a tremendous amount to learn from them, both as a way to understand what is actually happening in the ocean and the ocean's health, as well as serving a key role within the marine environment, either as a food source for something like a shark, or as a middle predator that regulates certain fish populations for growing too much. The sense of joy that we get from helping an injured animal or a vulnerable animal, it's almost infectious, and that creates that really great sense of positivity. And when animals are not being looked after, the reverse happens. We see these animals being neglected. We feel heart sore because someone should be doing something about it. Why are we letting this animal suffer? It's vulnerable. And this all comes back to a lot of the pressures that we have put on animals and how we've encroached on their own environments, how we've put barriers up that limit these animals from moving, how we've completely destroyed their habitats.
Come down, calling your soul. I said, come down, calling your inner soul. Learn how to let it go. You better learn how to let it go.
The most important story that my dad taught us was how the ocean could serve as an opportunity to escape. In his perspective, it was a literal escape from a civil war. In his mid-20s, he, together with other young men, escaped quite a severe civil war in Angola. They escaped being arrested and sailed back to Portugal with nothing more than a compass and a little handheld radio. My dad managed to ensure that everyone managed to get back to Portugal safely and in one piece. Only after that, then he returned back to South Africa, where we grew up in Johannesburg. The way he used to speak about the ocean as an escape, but also as a place that brought a lot of joy, is something that just carried through to our childhood. And every time there was an opportunity to go to the sea, or an opportunity to swim, or to enjoy the beach, my dad would set the example. And in many ways, he unified our family around the ocean. And now that we are all living by the sea and there's a new generation of family members coming out, the sense of respect and passion and enjoyment for the ocean has been fostered and has influenced me in how I want to live my life in a more responsible and respectful way for the ocean and the planet overall. I want to be able to pass on that passion and that enjoyment that the ocean brings to others. That is why I love living in a coastal town and why I love the ocean so much. Can I please get a Roger Rabbit juice and the vegetarian kelp lasagna? Thank you. Thank you. Without having the ocean, we would essentially not have any fresh water. We think that, yes, trees and dams provide water on land because they evaporate and then the rain falls. But all of that water originated from the ocean in some way, through evaporation, that then the wind brought it across onto the land where it's fallen in the mountains and trickled down into little streams that then become rivers and feeds the trees and the soil that ultimately result in our ability to survive on land. So when one thinks about food from the ocean, one tends to think about fish, about crabs, about mussels. But the reality is that the ocean is also filled with these plant-rich underwater kingdoms that form these beautiful forests that provide us with really delicious food, as well as essential minerals and medicines to allow us to thrive on land. The ocean not only brings us important food resources and fresh waters that we can survive, but it also provides us environment like the beach where we can have a lot of fun. The beach is a true melting pot and a common ground for pure, raw wildlife, domestic animals and humans, and subsequently creates a very unique and constant opportunity for these components to interact. Most of all, the beach is this mysterious interface between the land and the sea. It's never dry, but it's also never wet. It's always shifting its form and an essential part of our existence as humans and how life evolved to come onto land. The beach is life, and life is good. A vida é o mar.
Life is good, yeah. Life is good, yeah. Yeah, in my darkest times, you got me feeling like.
Coastal towns develop because the ocean allows the people within them to have lives around the coast. Some people are inspired by the ocean's beauty and create art to capture that. The ocean has much potential and offers something for everyone. And with that comes a culture of people and heritage that really bond over the same respect and appreciation of what the ocean offers. We see a lot of like-minded people in coastal communities And as a result, we see a unified respect and appreciation of the ocean and everything that it has to bring. The devastating impact that we as humans have on wildlife is evident in our daily lives, either in the form of entanglements or human-wildlife conflict. Nothing is more significant than the pollution that we leave in the ocean. The human impact on the ocean doesn't just stop with us throwing a bit of rubbish into the sea and resulting in a single animal being entangled. It starts with the vehicles we drive and the way we pollute the actual atmosphere that we all depend on. The ocean is this amazing sink which stores the carbon dioxide which we generate. And in that process, it's storing this carbon dioxide in the water and leading to changes on a massive scale on all organisms that live and rely on the ocean for their health. So if we take all these different impacts that humans are having on the ocean, it's quite scary to think what the ultimate end result will be in a few decades' time, and ultimately what impact that will have on us as humans living on the land. The ocean is this driving force behind what makes it possible for humans to exist on this planet. All of the world's weather systems, the rain, the wind, it's all driven by forces that originate from the ocean. As the ocean warms up in one part of the world and it's cool in another part of the world, and how this interacts with the land. It's these systems that allow us to have water to drink and to have plants growing in the soil and ultimately allow us to thrive on land as a human species. But when we go and disrupt this balance that the ocean has with the land through our greedy or selfish needs as humans, we disturb this balance and it leads to extreme weather patterns that bring floods, that bring droughts, and that ultimately compromise our ability to survive in places 1,000 kilometers from the sea. So as humans, we sometimes get caught up in a mindset of looking at ourselves in isolation and where we live and not really thinking beyond our comfort zones. And for someone who might live in the middle of the continent or in a landlocked country, you might say to yourself, but what significance is there to the ocean? How is it relevant to me? But ultimately, the ocean is what feeds and connects to our freshwater systems, to our rivers, to our lakes, to everything that makes survival in that country possible. But it goes beyond that. The ocean, it takes up 70% of our planet, and it is a moving body that flows and connects between these different land masses. While we may think of ourselves as a different country or a different continent from another continent, the ocean is there to remind us that we are all part of this world together, and the ocean is what connects us on so many different levels, and that allows us to form relationships with other continents and with other people. And that's all brought about by this connectedness that the water in the ocean actually brings. So the ocean is this immense, powerful force of nature that gives and takes and is calm one moment and ferocious the next. and is constantly just reminding all of us on this planet how small and like somewhat insignificant we sometimes are. But it's also very nurturing, and it unifies us in like who we are as humans. But just when we think we understand her, she can throw a storm out of nowhere and take out a fleet of ships and result in what we think are indestructible pieces of engineering and technology and break it like a twig. This intense energy that comes from the ocean is something that drives us as humans and inspires us and energizes us, but also puts in a lot of respect for Mother Nature. The tides create positive changes on the ocean through their powerful action and allow the ocean to thrive. So if I had to be a tide, I would like to be an incoming tide, because the incoming tide brings fresh water, it brings new oxygen, and it brings new ideas, and it brings components that allow the ocean to thrive. What kind of a tide would you like to be? You. Yes, you, I'm talking to you.
Filming you, filming me. Oh wow!
Action shot!
What I need to film you now?
Playing in the background. Some soft piano. Ding, ding, too. What kind of a tide are you? Tides creates
Cut!